The last 12 months have forced many companies to think about what digital transformation means for their company and why they can no longer ignore it. Matthew Devlin is joined by David McKnight from Applied Systems to discuss why necessity breeds innovation.
Hi, I'm Matthew Devlin, Business Development Manager for Digital DNA. We're delighted to be able to host so many incredible speakers and partners at this event, all focused on the exciting innovation within the insurance industry. One of the companies at the heart of InsurTech innovation is Applied Systems, and we're very lucky to be joined by their Regional Director, David McKnight. David has a wealth of experience and we'll be discussing how the acceleration in technology adoption has impacted the insurance industry, not just for brokers, but also for their customers. But first, David, thank you very much for joining us today. It'd be great if you could give us a quick intro about you and your role within Applied.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. I'm David McKnight. As Matthew said, I'm the Regional Director here of Applied Systems in Ireland, both in the north and the south of Ireland. I've been working here 23 years, so dealing with brokers and insurance companies all across the island. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Who are Applied Systems? Applied Systems are the world's leading supplier of broker systems across the US, Canada, the UK and Ireland. So all of that experience across the globe gives us a unique insight to how things are changing, and things have certainly changed a lot more rapidly over the last 18 months, as we all know, with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, and you've mentioned with the COVID-19 pandemic, the one thing that's definitely seems to have sort of rattled around that quite a lot is buzzwords, and lots of new buzzwords that we weren't used to before. One of the biggest being digital transformation, something that's been spoken about, but the real rapid acceleration of technology has been something that's sort of taken over entire industries. I suppose the first question that we would have as part of this session would be to look at, as businesses have had to maintain their own operational functionality, and with accelerating their own technology strategies. Can you tell us how you've seen that from Applied's perspective?
Well, starting on the internal from Applied itself here in our Belfast offices and Dublin and Galway offices. Obviously, as a technology company, as a software company, we should have been well set for remote working and what was forced upon us around this time last year. But I was very pleasantly surprised how everybody stood up, how we were able to mobilise that and make it a reality within a matter of days. I don't think any of us expected them to still be doing it 380 or 90 days later, and it's been a testament to everybody in our own organisation and how they've been able to remain productive, take advantage of the collaboration tools out there, and keep on doing their work. And it's been a similar trend with our customers. We support brokerages throughout Ireland, anything from one-man operations up to 200 user call centres, and many of the smaller businesses were able to take full advantage of our cloud technology. So delivering software for many years. Around 5 years ago, we started delivering the hosting and the infrastructure behind that, and it was a really good fit for our smaller organisations. It was a one-stop shop, and seeing them take advantage of that as they're able to leave their physical office and work just as productively from home. As you can imagine, those that hadn't moved to that and had on-premise deployments were quickly interested in following up with themselves to see how they could get moved from their on-premise software to a cloud-based system, allowing them that bit more agility with where they're physically based. Now, I think over the last year, whilst everybody sees that their customers need more and more access to their data, need better digital capabilities delivered to them, the path to getting there is not always straightforward for these small businesses. A small business looks at the personal service they're delivering, being able to answer the telephone call, being able to talk somebody through a complex insurance product as very much being their job. That's what they're there to do. So to hand over that control to a website where the consumer is making their own choices, maybe reading all of the information themselves and trying to consume that information, that's a big step for a lot of our smaller businesses. But that's not necessarily what digital transformation needs. Digital transformation can simply be sending a document electronically rather than a hard copy post. So as we've sat down with customers, small and large, and broken it down into what is this word digital transformation? Often we break it down into very small parts and start working through that. And businesses, it's a journey, and it's a journey that will never end. And a lot of our customers have seen the very small things in their business that they've been able to change. Maybe, as I said, a document sent electronically, a cash receipt, something that in some of our offices would still be handwritten, produced into a PDF and sent to somebody's email inbox is really transformational for the business. And then, as you can imagine, the very large organisations have been scrambling to move to a more self-service, a complete self-service environment. So if somebody's looking to change their car or add an additional specified item on their household policy, they're not actually phoning into the call centre. They're able to log on to the website, log on to a secure portal and carry out that change themselves. And again, it's the combination of having strong service online and offline that keeps the brokers very much healthy. It keeps that whole industry very much healthy in the service that they're delivering.
Yeah, it's very interesting looking at it from examples from both smaller organisations or smaller examples right the way up. But I suppose it's very difficult, and you've mentioned that Applied were able to act very, very quickly whenever the pandemic first began. And not to dwell too much on the pandemic, but one thing about it is it's very difficult to compare this situation because we haven't really seen, we've never seen a pandemic like this in our lifetime and all the externality factors from that. But what we have seen is similar economic crisis to this before. How would you, in your own perspective and as well, with looking through the lenses of Applied, how would you compare the acceleration in technology from then to now?
Well, I think actually the previous economic changes are, and sorry, I've lost track of what I was thinking, but the last economic crash or crisis, as you describe it, back in 2008, 2009 in the Republic of Ireland, where I've done most of my work, was very severe to people's livelihoods. I would say even more severe in our businesses or the businesses we were serving than the recent pandemic. And at that time, people really turned to technology. So although the change to digital is maybe at the more forefront of people's minds, back then, 13 years ago now, just the simple need for efficiency and being able to manage their businesses more efficiently, seeing a huge adoption of technology. And that really bore through. And insurance itself is a pretty resilient industry. You know, people still drive their cars, even though they might drive them less. People still value their homes and need to insure them. Even their business insurance, while the restaurant may not be open, they still need to insure their business. So there's a need there. There's a resilience there. And certainly as people have looked at their businesses again, through this acceleration, I think the remote working side of things, there's a huge things for our customers. Many of the businesses feel they need a high street presence. I think that's being questioned. Do we really need a high street presence? We haven't had one for a year, and it hasn't been that detrimental to our business. And it's a cost that maybe they could look to avoid. And certainly the flexibility for senior people not always to be in the office, to feel that they can be in another location and still be as effective through the proper use of technology. And as I said, it'll come down, certainly in our industry, the focus will continue on the self-service route. There's a lot of transactions take place in the insurance world that in reality the consumer could service themselves if they had the right tools to do so. So that'll be the ongoing trend. And it's like anything, the younger people, and I say younger, I'm grand old 46, but the next generation after myself, a lot of them don't want to be on the telephone. They want to do things on their handheld device and do things on their phone without speaking to people. So that's the big shift now, to make sure that whatever service you are providing is accessible on a digital device, and that you don't have to pick up the telephone if you don't want to.
And do you think with that generational change, do you think that's maybe something that has sort of meant that the likes of potential closures of high street brokerages and things like that, do you think that was something that was inevitable anyway prior to the pandemic? Or how would you see it in your perspective?
Yeah, well, certainly a service, the feeling, there's a complexity to a number of business insurance products that you certainly want to sit down and talk to your broker or talk to your advisor about. More often than not, though, the person will be more than happy for you to come to their office. If you're a business, there's a chance you have a location yourself, and they'd be very happy for you to be in their office rather than them making their way down the high street. However, that's a brand, out and about, getting your brand out there. There's certainly something very strong about being on the high street in terms of brand awareness. It really comes down to the cost-benefit analysis, and people will look at where they're putting their marketing spend, what their lease looks like, what the office accommodation looks like, and I think most importantly, what their people want. If you've got a group of loyal people that are still very keen to come to an office environment and work together in that environment, I think a lot of business owners will look to support that. Whereas if all the feedback from your people is that we're more than happy to spend at home or look at some type of hot desking arrangement, and we certainly don't need a facility that supports all 10 of us on the high street, I think that's probably the biggest influencer to how those businesses will look at their setups in the future.
That's great, David. I suppose the next question that we would have would be more looking more inwardly in terms of digital transformation. Would you be able to tell us a bit about how Applied is innovating to enable more productivity, intelligence, simplicity, and overall value with today's technology?
A lot. We're doing an awful lot all across the globe. As I said, adoption for our customers. Quite often, this is in small chunks. So we've a range of products, not only to deliver self-service capability out to their customers, but we've analytics products about how they can look at their data. We're doing some interesting work with Google in that front to make better use of the data. There's brokers by their nature and insurance companies, they collect a huge amount of data, as you can imagine. You ever have to phone a brokerage to acquire motor insurance or household insurance, you probably wonder, are they going to ask for your inside leg measurements? They're asking you that many questions, but they have a huge amount of data in their systems, and quite often they make very little use of it. And we're working with our customers to open up that data so they can make intelligent decisions with computer learning, part of that machine learning. But quite often the old KISS side of things and methodology, and keep it simple, stupid, when we say about simplicity there, is where I see customers getting benefit day in, day out. What are their customers saying? What are the obvious things in their business that are causing friction, and friction causes cost? And what can they do to take some small steps this month or this quarter in terms of making their business more efficient? So that's what I get a buzz out of, things actually being able to enable things and get things out the door and continue taking small steps. But the view on the North Star, it might seem obvious where we want to get to, but that North Star might move again in 2 years' time as the world keeps moving forward. So many things. that we keep developing with our customers and working with our customers. But I think at the heart of it, simplicity is where we'll keep making the biggest gains for our customers.
So just with that in mind, for those customers, with simplicity in mind, what does a broker need then to make sure that their technology is both open and integratable?
Well, they need to check with their core system provider, of which Applied is one of many, one that's been about an awful lot longer than many. So we have that technical debt. We've built up that legacy of products that people have been using for many, many years. But it's an ethos, it's a mindset to have open platforms. A lot of our competitors have gone down the proprietary route and the closed shop, and even some of the biggest technology companies in the world, like Apple, would be accused of the same in previous years. So there's no one company can deliver everything a brokerage needs from technology nowadays. That was maybe the expectation, maybe still is the expectation from some of our customers. We are their IT provider. We should be able to deliver every facility that they need. But the reality is, if you want best in class, you can't be best in class in every single realm. So open is very much our future, that we have an open platform, delivering the insurer connectivity, delivering the accounting, the document management, all the core functions that a broker needs and quite rightly expects in their core management system. But then having an open platform with many integrations, with many partners, that you're really delivering choice to the customer to get the best for what they need for their business, because brokers are different. From one broker to the next, they have different wants and needs, and therefore it would be extremely complex and absolutely unrealistic for one technology provider to be able to satisfy them. So it's absolutely vital that you have an open system, that you have obvious and consumable APIs that integrators are happy to pick up on and happy to do the work and provide more capability to the end customer.
So you've mentioned there with having an open platform and that being able to help achieve KPIs. Looking at the KPIs, then how would a broker then ensure velocity and overall ensuring fast releases within their system?
Again, that's going to be defined by their system providers and their integrators. There is going to be a reliance there. But in terms of planning and working to a more agile pattern, it's having the right people on board, the people that can are trained in those methodologies, are able to build systems quickly, understand about failing fast and taking risks rather than the older way of trying to define absolutely everything you're going to do over a long period of time. So the world has changed in terms of people's expectations and the speed that they expect new capabilities on their systems, and you need to have the processes there to support that.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I suppose then the last thing, looking kind of inwardly within that, would be would all of this focusing on velocity and open integration, how would that then ensure the overall end user experience meets exactly what the broker would want?
Again, people's expectations are going to differ. What's right for one operator may not be exactly what another operator is looking for. So there's certainly a little bit of compromise needed. You're trying to build a system that satisfies as many different people and as many different job areas as possible across an insurance brokerage. So whether it's a personal lines sales agent or commercial line sales agent, or maybe somebody that's simply running the analytics of the system, the importance is that it's intuitive to them to do their role. And again, it comes back to the principles of keeping it simple. They're they're there to sell insurance, or they're there to administrate insurance, or they're there to run a business. They should not be expected to be IT professionals to be able to use their systems. So the systems need to be innovative. The most successful technology companies in the world, you didn't have to read a 100-page training manual to start using their software. Funny enough, when you picked it up, it was quite intuitive. You were able to get your way around it and use your iPhone pretty quickly without reading any manual. So to me, that's the key, that the software has to be logical and intuitive out of the box.
And no, that's great. And as you've kind of sort of alluded to, the one thing that we would really like to sort of get your perspective on is not just what's happening now with the pandemic and sort of recent years, but what you kind of see will happen with technologies in the future. And do you think, what do you think will be the key things that will support insurance businesses in the coming years? We talk quite a lot within the events industry about hybrid models. How do you think that will take shape for insurtech companies?
Yeah, well, insurtech, the amount of money being invested in insurtech and the changes in the models will certainly have an influence on what our customers are doing in the more traditional brokers. The complexity around what we do in terms of the connectivity to many, many insurance companies, the need, what is a broker? Key role. The broker's key role is to survey the market and get you, the consumer, the most suitable product for your insurance needs. And to be able to do that, they need to have common standards on data entry. There needs to be comparison platforms in terms of what we are delivering. And with that, there are constraints in terms of agility. You can't change a system that integrates to 50 insurers every week, or it might not work when you wake up someday. So it's about, as you say, hybrid, or the word hybrid. It's trying to make sure that your core business continues supporting the core working model, and then an introduction. Are there things where you can introduce change to the model? Are there niche products where actually we could start to think about things differently? Is there a way of introducing pay per mile insurance into your private car panel? All of these things, it's about being proactive about the future rather than reactive. There's little core change happens in the insurance industry without it being quite well telegraphed, and as brokers or insurance companies, if they take a proactive approach to change, I think they'll be very well. They've been very resilient for the last 40 years, and I think they're going to be about for the next 40 years and adopt change as well as they have done.
I think that's a very, very, very good way to put it, and I think that wraps things up well for us. David, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. It's been really insightful, and we look forward to see what happens with Applied and their innovations in the coming months and years. Thank you.
No, appreciate that, Matthew. Thank you, man.